bad for a librarian. Perhaps you should have spent more time in the pit.
And perhaps you should have spent more time in the library.
Bra weep grana weep ninny bong YouTube. It's RedWhiteandBluestreak here with my third Transformers figure review. And today we're taking a look at the Transformers Buzzworthy Bumblebee Studio Series 44 Transformers Dark of the Moon Leader Class Optimus Prime. Yeah, quite the mouthful. Now, for those of you who've been living under a rock for the past few years, the Studio Series is a line of Transformers figures that aims to capture the on-screen appearance of Transformers from the films and the game soon enough. Man, those things look cool! You have been replaced. To a point that is second only to the Masterpiece figures, and just about every third-party representation of the characters, but we're not talking about those right now. And since its debut, the series has somewhat found its footing. There have been quite a few misses to go alongside the smash hits of the Studio Series, and I'm gonna be honest, I get it. Especially when it comes to the live-action movies. Turning those CGI models into transforming figures that look great in both robot and vehicle mode can't be an easy task, and my heart goes out to all those toy designers. That being said, this figure is definitely one of those smash hits. Seriously, this is one of the few times in recent memory where I feel like I've gotten my money's worth out of a leader class figure. And yes, even that price is worth it in my opinion. I really want to start with the packaging. This is the first leader class figure I've bought since Hasbro switched to plastic-free packaging, and I gotta say, I'm in love with this kind of packaging. Yes, there's that little bit of uncertainty that the figure's even in the box if you're picking it off of store shelves. I mean, seriously, I was taking a gamble getting this thing off of Target shelves. But come on, you gotta admit this is cool! I mean, yeah, I could do without the Buzzworthy Bumblebee art, and I do prefer the standard Studio Series black and blue box colors, but man, it's nice to have these renders taking up more than just a small corner of the box. There's even a bit of the backdrop on the front too, and that uncertainty of the contents of the box could easily be fixed if they added, say, like a flap to the front, maybe with a little bit of Velcro to hold it shut, even though that would kind of go against the whole anti-plastic thing with the packaging. But still, think THSO2 minus the plastic in the window and with more of those paper ties that they use now. Inside the box, the figure is secured with the aforementioned ties in a blank cardboard tray with the awesome backdrop behind it. Say what you will about the live-action movies, believe me, they're not my cup of tea either. But the battle for Chicago from Dark of the Moon was pretty awesome, and this definitely makes for a perfect backdrop for the figure. Though the bridge where Optimus commits war crimes against Sentinel Prime and Megatron may have been a nice second.
No, Optimus!
Violations of the Geneva Convention aside, this toy representation of the Peterbilt 379 cab is almost spot on. Despite the fact that this is probably the best of the three different interpretations of the Bayverse Optimus Prime truck mode, it does have its faults. The stubby smokestacks, less than accurate truck bed, which can't really be helped, the messy frame, and the lack of bumper guides on the front definitely take this guy down a few notches in terms of accuracy, but the paint job is spot on. This is not the first time this mold has been released, and the original version of this figure used a flat red for the nose of the truck, rather than the yellow gradient on this one. And while we're talking about this area of the truck, the nose of the cab doesn't seem to want to stay all the way together for my copy. It's kind of concerning how much I have to force the nose of the truck together due to the transformation. Along with that, the only other problem I have with this vehicle mode is that the front wheels tend to want to pop out of the wheel well a lot more than I remember on the previous versions of this mold. Not sure if that can be just attributed to mold degradation or if that's just like a QC issue on my figure. If you have this figure, please feel free to let me know. I'd love to know if this is a widespread issue or just an isolated case. I can't really seem to find anything on TFW. Slight inaccuracies and issues aside, the truck mode rolls really well, as it should, and rolls just as well with the trailer. That's right, this movie Optimus Prime comes with a trailer. You know, from that one scene of the one movie. Is this Studio Series or Masterpiece? The trailer is fantastic for accessory storage, at least in the battle station mode, which we'll get into later. The complete vehicle looks really good, though it is pretty out of scale with other Studio Series figures, sadly. I mean, maybe you can get it to work with some perspective tricks, but that's about it. Now, the vehicle mode's all fine and dandy, but that's only half the reason you buy a Transformers figure, isn't it? So first thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and remove the trailer. I mean, that kind of goes without saying for any Optimus Prime. Then, starting with the back, you're going to want to go ahead and take the feet there and separate them, for starters. Kind of makes things easier. Go ahead and take that wheel that likes to get out of the wheel well and fold it against the back of the truck. Then go ahead and take the feet and just rotate them around, taking the entire shin section with it. It's going to go ahead and form the front of the leg. That's pretty much a leg all done. Then once you've gone ahead and done the same thing to the other side, we can go ahead and start moving to the front of the truck. You're going to take the front grille section, and you can tell it already kind of wants to come apart. Just go ahead and just pull that apart. Don't pull by the actual bumper, because that'll actually damage the pegs and tabs and everything. That toy guy has a little bit of a story about that if you look at his review. Then we can go ahead and go right back to the back of the truck here and just go ahead and take this back section by the gas tank and separate it from the back. And then flip the back section up. Take those other gas canisters and just pull them back as well. Then we'll come to the front of the truck again and just pull the nose of the truck forward. These will become the arms. Then you can take them and just move them to the side out of the way on that little hinge joint there. And then we can go ahead and take the gas canister section there and then just rotate it around to the front side like that. And just push it flat against the side. Then we can take the roof of the truck and go ahead and just separate that from the top. You'll see a lot of blue back here, and you're going to want to take those top panels and just rotate them around to the front. You can go ahead and tab them into the side. Don't go ahead and cover up the chest just yet. We're going to need that space in the middle for some clearance. Because the next step is to go ahead and flip the head around. And that is a very nice looking head sculpt. Then coming back around to the back, we can go ahead and take those blue panels there that we went and folded up earlier and just fold them up against the back. There's not really a set order for folding them up, you just kind of want to get them to tab together. Then take the gas canister sections and fold them against that. Coming back around to the front, we can go ahead and close those front panels together to form the faux robot mode windows. Then we can take the waist section, and there's a little bit of a tab or peg, whatever, that snaps into the torso, and we'll go ahead and snap that together. And go ahead and rotate the waist while you're at it. Take the little shoulder pad section things, whatever, just fold them against the arms, you know what to do. Then go ahead and fold the arms around on that hinge. It's kind of a little bit weird, but it'll make sense if you have the figure in hand. There's going to be a tab there that actually slots into a little slot on the shoulder part of the arms. It's going to keep everything nice and secure. You'll hear it click into place. Then coming back around to the back, those little grill sections from earlier, we're going to go ahead and just fold them flat against the back. They're not going to tab into anything, but they'll be secured later. Then when it comes to the arms, you can go ahead and take this front nose section and it's going to kind of wiggle back. And then you can go ahead and fold up the hands. And once you go ahead and fold the nose section around the arm, there's a little tab that'll go into a little slot on the wrists. Not really, but you can tell it's kind of meant to go there. It'll just kind of sit there. Then coming back around to the back, we can take these side gas canister sections on the double hinge that they're on and just kind of move them out of the way while we take the back section and tab it into the roof of the truck. Then take those gas canister sections and rotate them inward after extending them on that double hinge little connection there, and then fold them flat against the back. And that'll create a nice clean back for the figure. Then, to get everything nice and finished and secured and everything, there's going to be 2 tabs on the roof of the truck that are going to go ahead and secure into 2 slots on the little bumpers of the grille. Then you can take those wheels that we folded back earlier and just fold them against the butt. They'll just kind of friction there. Then take these wheels and just fold them against those wheels. And then you're all done. Now this is where the figure truly shines. It's clear from what I've seen on previous versions of the Studio Series Bayverse Prime mold that the robot mode was kind of not as much of a priority as the truck mode. But even then, neither of the modes really were entirely accurate on that version of the mold. This figure does the opposite, and despite not being completely accurate in either mode, it still looks leaps and bounds better than the previous one in my opinion. And the journey to get here is very fun and intuitive, despite the gripes I have with the front section. Now, those of you with a keen eye will notice that this figure makes a minor necessary change to differentiate this figure from the 2007 versions. For some reason, Dark of the Moon gave Optimus Prime this different midsection, perhaps to give him a more G1-inspired look with a sort of grill ab section. Either way, I can't really say that I entirely prefer this over the alternate red bits on the other model, but the attention to detail is greatly appreciated for this figure. And while we're talking about the details here, every part of the vehicle mode either folds away or is covered by faux parts and cleans up really well from all angles, even with the hollow bits in mind. Though with the new, more accurate alt mode paint deco, we see perhaps the main reason why the yellow gradient was omitted from the other versions of the figure, as well as the MPM figure. The splash of yellow on the arms, while definitely not desirable, isn't too much of an eyesore for the figure, fortunately. Especially since it can be out of sight with all the different poses you can get this figure into. There's a ball joint at the head which allows for a nice range of motion. It can go up about that far, down about that far, and not really a lot of tilt, but it's there. The arms are able to rotate 360 and they're able to go out to the side, with the shoulder pad actually moving out of the way to make way for that. There's also a bicep swivel. The arms can bend a little bit more than 90 degrees to give you a good range of motion there. And the wrists are on a wrist swivel, on a little mushroom peg. The waist can swivel as well. You can move the wheels down for a wider range of motion there, but it is going to grind against the grill there, so I don't really recommend it. The knees have a nice bend that gets a little more than 90 degrees. You can do the full splits, both forward and not so much backward. You don't really get any backwards movement because of that grill there, but you do get a nice kick. There's no ankle rotation, but there is a thigh swivel. And the toes are articulated to where they can move back about that far and forward not very far, but it's there. And there's a little bit of a pivot as well to allow you to widen the stance a little bit. The posability is fantastic on this guy, and at least on my figure, the joints are the appropriate amount of tight. Does that sentence even make sense? You can get this guy in some pretty dynamic poses, either by himself or alongside other Studio Series figures, or even with other primes of other continuities for your display, and those displays can be even further enhanced with his accessories. Prime comes with a series of accessories and weapons of mass destruction so he can kill them all. He has the typical gun that you see with most Bayverse primes, 2 heavy guns, a sword, a shield, and an axe, which are all things he actually uses in the movie. I mean, good lord, was he planning on fighting a war performing medieval executions? I do wish they would have shelled out a little bit more money to paint some of these accessories, but I can't say I really care about the films enough to really care that much about them not being painted. I mean, a lot of these accessories are probably going to get tossed in a bin and forgotten anyways, besides the gun and the sword, or I can install them on the battle station. So starting off, you're going to want to do a little bit of parts forming. That's right. Go ahead and untab these side sections, then pull the roof of the trailer away once it decides to let go. Once you've got everything untabbed, you can go ahead and flip the doors out. That'll kind of act as a support for the battle station. And then you can go ahead and flip the top section that remains down. That'll form a little bit of a floor area. Then take the rear wheel well section and just fold that back as well. Now everything's going to be kind of all loose and wiggly and wibbly and wobbly. It's not really going to hold a shape, which would be a criticism if these 2 dark gray sections weren't on a hinge. You can go ahead and take those and just kind of rest them against the sides. It'll help it to form a shape, and hold the shape actually. And once you do that, there's the battle station. The battle station is a fantastic representation of the early warning signs of Optimus Prime's homicidal tendencies.
You die!
And it's great to have a proper place to store all of these gray pieces of plastic. Lord knows I was gonna just throw these in a bin somewhere and forget about them anyways. It also reveals another, albeit cooler, gray piece of plastic that he used in the movies as well. The
rocket pack.
There is a slight bit of transformation necessary in order to accommodate for the jetpack there. As much as I may like to dog on the Bay films as well as this version of Prime, which I'll actually go ahead and plug that me and my friend Dial are actually going through all the different Transformers live action films all the way up to Rise of the Beast and giving our opinions on them, including the 1980s movie. Feel free to go check those out, link's gonna be in the description. Anyways, back to the review, sorry. But this jetpack combined with his other accessories looks downright awesome. It makes me wish we got all this kind of stuff with the MPM figure, without the need for upgrade kits. It's kind of a shame that we only really see him with this for one movie, to be honest. But it's also nice to see that despite shrugging off Jetfire's literal corpse like an afterthought at the end of Revenge of the Fallen, that he actually pays some sort of tribute to him in the next movie. Or at least took some inspiration from his jet bits to make a cool little jetpack or whatever. I don't know. With all of these elements, it's hard for me not to recommend this set, if you can find it, that is. This is easily the best Studio Series Optimus Prime currently on the market, and makes for a fantastic addition for any Prime collection. That being said, I think we can go ahead and wrap up this review. And this has been Red, White, and Blue Streak, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.